Hello, and welcome to another episode of Umineko. Why don't we, as always, start off with a content warning? Because, those are important. Content warning for this entire arc of the story. Erika, who is a terrible person and does terrible things, character deaths, detailed descriptions of gore and body horror, child abuse, discussion and mentions of suicide and misogyny. And, wow, what an episode it was last week. We had a showdown between Shannon and Maria. We had I guess also a showdown between the new Beatrice, baby Beatrice, and Natsuhi. And we had an off-screen death where Balor essentially killed himself without it being a suicide. So that's going to be an interesting one to figure out, which is what Erika has to do now. She has to solve the mystery. She has to figure out what's happening on this game board, and she's gonna be an absolute gremlin in the process, because that's how Erika be. And we kind of love her for it, but yeah. That's where we left off last time. Hey Kat, welcome to the stream. Also, what do you call a pirate droid? R2D2. That's, oh boy. No, that's pretty good, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it, as always. I might make some mistakes with reading this week, more so than usual. Because I'm having some eyesight problems. As some of you know, I only have one functioning eye, and that eye is acting up a little bit. Oh. There we go, problem solved. That doesn't solve the problem at all. Now I can't, now my avatar can't see. It's the other eye anyway, so it's fine. But, yeah, sometimes I have to squint a little extra or blink extra hard, and yeah. I'm sure it'll be fine, but just, if you notice more, fuck-ups, there's a reason for it, I promise. Alrighty then. You're here for the fuck-ups? Automod did not like that, but you know what? I think that's fair. Excuse me, I'm just drinking some tea real quick. Say fuck. Yeah, well, Automod needs to learn its place. We've been trying to tame it ever since I started streaming, and no luck yet, but I'm gonna keep trying. Okay. Can't remember. Chapter 9. Oh my god, Faith. I'm not even gonna read that one out loud. Oof. Anyway, well, reading. That's what I'm here for. Trying to remember if I forgot anything. But that's not how memory works, is it? Okay. How does it feel? play on the witch side. It feels strange. I used to think that the witch side had such a huge advantage. But now that I'm on that side, I see that that's ridiculous. It's almost like that party game where you stick knives in a barrel. From the perspective of the human side, it feels like trying to shoot at a target hidden by mist. But from the witch side, a random shot might become fatal. And the old me played several games just like that. Yeah, it's almost like Russian roulette. Even so, you stretch those games out to the limit, believing that I would eventually figure it out. It may be impudent of me to ask, but just what is it that you figured out, Balor-san? At the very end of your games with the old me. Hey Lulu, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. I hope you feel better soon. And thank you for dropping by. Thank you. It was a strange question. In the past, Beato had always been the one posing into battle. But now that Battler had figured it out, Beato was the one asking him about it. It's the exact opposite. In the past, only you remembered, and only I forgot. But now it's the other way around. Only I remember, and only you have forgotten. Bye Lulu, have a good day. Time zones. Also, you cashed in a save reminder, cat, so here you go. Also take a quick sip of my tea. We're off to a slow start today, but I'm gonna be honest, my eye is bugging me a little, so I'm gonna take it a little easier today than usual. And I'm also gonna turn my volume down a little. Would you mind telling me what it is? Telling you would be easy. But I don't want to tell you. I'm not trying to be mean. I just want to believe in a miracle myself, just a little bit. A miracle? Yes, this was the single miracle seed that Balor had preserved. If Beato could remember a certain something without being told, that would prove that Beato had revived in the truest sense. So he wouldn't tell her. It was Balor's final seed, which existed because he still couldn't abandon his hope that Beato might revive. If you can't tell me, then I won't ask. If I have upset you, please forgive me. Don't worry about it. I'm just clinging to the past. As she watched that sad smile, Beato's chest tightened. He was looking at her and seeing the old her. Yes, I must become my former self, for his sake. My older sister who gets burned by spiderwebs, and I, who don't, must become one. Surely, it's more useful to him if I go on a journey to find myself now, than if I simply watch over his game. How do you feel about this game? Do you think we can win? Yes, I believe I can. I'll win, and end this eternal torture, just like Beato wanted. When it ends, what will happen to the world? Who knows? I'm really not sure. But that's what we wished for. So, no matter what the result is, I intend to accept it. I wonder what will happen to me. Beato was uncertain. Even she was probably no more than a piece in this game. If the game ended, then would she, one who had been born out of that game's rules, disappear? The game will probably disappear. But now, I completely understand magic. So I'll be able to carry you off the game board. I think that was your wish. My wish? The rest is a secret. I'll be waiting for the miracle. For you to remember all of that by yourself. After smiling bitterly for just a second, Battler laughed and told her not to worry. Apparently, it's best if she avoided talking to Battler about her previous self. Well then, I'll go check on my opponent for a bit. I can't wait to see what kind of twisted logic that idiot thinks up next. The old Battler-san did a lot of that too. My favorite was the one from the first twilight of the second game when you said the culprit killed everyone by feeding them small bombs. The highlights of my dark past. Please forget that that ever happened. Yes, I will try. Oh, that hurt. That entire bit made me sad. Battler became a cloud of gold butterflies and disappeared into the darkness. Beato remained bowed until he had disappeared completely. Ugh. His face at the end. Ow. To fill in his place, a single gold butterfly appeared and became Beato the Elder. Did you call me, little sister? Yes. I want to know more about you. And I want to know what the real me is like. I want to become like that. Of course, I also want to know about my future self. We revealed everything about ourselves to each other for that purpose. However, we did not become one. I cannot understand what we must do to become our single self. What can we do to become one? I have high hopes for the trials of Zeparn Fervor. You mean the miracle of magic given to the victors? I wonder if that magical miracle means becoming one's full self. I will be able to attain my true form. You will be able to fulfill Battler's wishes. Battler will also be happy, and all of us will suddenly have what we want. I can't get away from this trial, can I? Which means you cannot afford to lose to the other two pairs. George-san and Shannon-san, Jessica-san and Kanon-san. I can only grasp happiness by trampling over them. The conditions apply equally to all. If one of the others succeeds in love, the other two pairs, including you, will be trampled over. Why must the scales be so unbalanced, I wonder? Unbalanced? Some people will find love, others won't. So I can understand placing those two groups on the two plates of a set of scales. But the scales for our trial have 3 plates and 2 must lose for one to win. It seems horribly unbalanced. Who knows? It might mean that successful love is worth 2 destroyed loves. Your words do not inspire confidence, little sister. If you cannot put your desire to answer to battlers' expectations before your concern for the losers, victory will slip through your fingers. You're right. I won't give up on our victory. I don't like doing this to the others, but there will be no hard feelings between us. If I do lose, I'll give my strongest blessings to whichever couple wins. So, I'll fight with all my heart and soul, so that I have no lingering regrets, and I'll win that miracle of magic. That's the spirit. Oh boy. How was it? How did the red and the blue shoot out over the first twilight go? I was just gathering information to start. Battler seemed pretty fired up. She had just returned from a fierce fight with Battler, fought using the information gained through repetition requests. It was the old, familiar kind of fight, reminiscent of the time when the red text had first appeared, or when the blue text had first been permitted. And the result? Good night, babe. Sleep well. First, in all cases, it was the victims themselves that constructed the locked rooms. Also, those locked rooms were perfectly preserved until Krause's group broke them open. Also, I confirmed that during that period, all forms of interference from the outside were impossible. Erika reported this proudly, as though it had been a great battle, but Berncastle looked bored as she listened. After looking blankly at her blankly for a second, Lambda Delta spoke her opinions frankly. Wait a second. Doesn't that mean that this locked room murder was perfect? What? The victims had sealed the locked rooms themselves, and that state had been preserved until Krause and the others had broken the locked rooms open. And no one had been inside the locked rooms except for the victims. And Krause's group, the ones who had broken the room open, were not the culprits. Erika's battle had proceeded in this way, with her detailed repetition requests winning her several other little red truths just like these. Normally, simply collecting such vital information would have been enough. However, the witch who was her master was tired of boredom, and she had been expecting a much more flashy, argument-winning victory instead of this bland result. However, this time, I don't have the detective's authority, so there's a chance that my examination of the corpses could have been an error. So, if we suppose that a drug which mimics death was used to fool my examination, God damn it, Lambda. You mean Pika-Puyo? I tried. I was gonna be real smooth about it and stumble at the very end. I would blame my eyesight, but nah. That was my mouth. No, not that. It's not impossible for certain well-known drugs, such as insulin, to bring about a temporary state that mimics death. Paddler did not counter that with the red truth. In other words, my blue truth worked. I'd say we've started with a victory. To sum up Erika's report, all she had done was listen to the red truths Battler had wanted her to hear. Only the information Battler had wanted to provide had been presented, and she hadn't been able to strike at any weak points. She was like a kid who had gone out shopping, then forgotten her job and only bought candy. Ow. I have done this in the past when I was a kid. I know that feeling. However, this was all the players on the human side could do. Without the detective proclamation, she could only fight by collecting dull bits of information like that. All the same, her master had been expecting more than that sort of dull fight. Yes, she really is like Battler when he started. So, she had tried to give her report energetically, to make it seem as though they were in a superior position. But no matter how much she tried, the cold expression of her master remained merciless. Your blue truth worked? You mean it was too ridiculous for him to bother cutting down? Impressive powers of deduction, great detective.
I did try to examine the corpses with care, to the best of my abilities. However, I don't have the detective's authority, so we can't be certain. Wait a second. Weren't you the one who decided not to make the detective proclamation? Didn't you say that you wanted to raise the stakes to make up for your disgrace last time? Well... What's wrong? Are you saying that you can't win against Battler without the detective's authority? Not at all, my master. I can easily defeat an incompetent buffoon like that, even without the detective's authority.
Oh my god, That is too many times that the word detective has been mentioned in a very short time. I still cannot pronounce that word, I don't know why. I'm also starting to feel a little bad for Erika, yeah.
It's just, this style of fighting is a little different from what I'm used to, and I haven't gotten the hang of it yet.
Compared to other human beings, Erika would rank as extremely talented. Her knowledge and powers of memory and insight were ahead of the pack, and most likely, no human could be more suitable for the role of detective than her. However, no matter how superior she might be to other humans, that didn't matter in a game of witches. In a witch's game, it's either 0 or 100. In other words, everything is either the red truth or it isn't. If a normal human's abilities were worth a 10, her exceptional power would probably rate a 99. However, it could never be 100. Since it was less than 100, it wasn't absolutely certain, so it didn't count as red truth. For example, the examination of the corpses that Erika had worried over in the fight just now. If she had performed it with the detective's authority, she could have said with 100% certainty whether they were alive or dead. However, without the detective proclamation, it was 99%. There was a 1% chance that she made a mistake, and that overturned the foundation of the examination. The reason Erika had gained the detective's authority and become the Witch of Truth was that Bernkastel had supplemented her talent of 99 with an additional 1. Just because Bernkastel wouldn't give her that 1, in the world of witches, Erika's 99 was treated exactly the same as 0. Even her talented assistant Dlenor couldn't be put to proper use without a power of 100. When working under an Erika who had lost the detective's authority, Dlenor's red longsword lost its power. Dlenor also found it vexing that she couldn't provide adequate assistance. She had tried several times to convince Erika to use the detective proclamation, but Erika had stubbornly refused each time.
Why not just do it? Make that detective proclamation. If you do, you'll be unstoppable. The landlord could even use her red longsword in the Noct Decalogue.
Why not do it? If you want.
No.
There was no need for anyone to explain. By now, it was clear that Erika hadn't abandoned the detective proclamation by her own will. When Battler reached the truth in the previous game, this game was already finished. This isn't really the 6th game. It's a finale game so that Battler can have a chance to serve as Game Master at the end. Everything was already decided last game.
Yeah, pretty much. The games won't continue forever, and I've lost my bet with Burn. In this game, Balor will prove that he's reached the game's truth. And that Beato's game will be destroyed and a big victory for the human side. And a big victory for Burn, too. Well, supposedly, but you look unsatisfied for some reason.
Because I am. I didn't want such a boring victory.
The victory you wanted was for Beato's game to be torn to bits. And for Beato's true, pathetic form to be exposed, humiliated, and trampled on. But this victory of Valor's isn't quite like that, is it?
All this about love and promises. To end the game quietly and let her rest in peace. That sort of ending would make anyone vomit. I didn't give Balor all that advice so that he could end things like that. I had his little sister turn to scrap meat behind his back. I had his parents and family killed horribly over and over again. That was all to spark a desire for revenge against Beato. And now, what kind of an ending is this? Have I won? Of course not. Balor's gotten his hands on a victory that neither you nor I can stand. I came all the way out here to see Beatrice lamely and pathetically torn to bits. And I endured a staggering period of boredom just for that one purpose. I didn't come here to sip from a rotten yogurt fragment like this.
Your angry face is wonderful too, Burn. I get it, so you wanted at least one final something to get the bad taste out of your mouth.
It's all the fault of this moron piece screwing up the last game. Screwing up last game, even.
Because of you, the first game board in centuries that looked like it might be a bit of fun for me is all wasted. Filth, trash, scum. My apologies, my master. I will definitely bring you a victory, so please forgive me.
If you couldn't win with a detective's authority in the last game, how do you expect to defeat Balor now that he's the game master? You don't have a chance at winning even with the detective's authority. So why bother with it?
Yeah, if you can't win anyway, then who needs the detective's authority? A certain loss becomes even more certain. Big whoop.
And therefore, if you manage to win in this even worse situation, that would be a miracle worthy of me. If, and only if you can do that, I'll be able to forgive you.
Yes, I will surely show you that miracle.
You wish you could, disgusting puke spittle. The best you can do is take part in the worst punishment game ever for the worst game ever.
with your only weapon, the detective proclamation, taken away from you, humiliating yourself until you have no dignity left. And through it all, you'll roll onto your back like a dog and beg for my infection. Your purpose, Puke Spittle, is to make me laugh.
Sounds like you're having a great time in there. Am I interrupting? Gold butterflies gathered in the darkness and took the shape of Battler. Though he had just arrived, he seemed to realize immediately that the mood was dark.
Ah, Battler. I had a look at your first twilight. Quite impressive locked rooms. I'm sure you're more talented than Beato.
It's just a rehash of the locked rooms Beato made in the past. I'll take that to be a compliment for Beato.
It seems your fight with Erika wasn't bad either. Think your serial murders will move along smoothly?
Who knows? My role isn't to carry out serial murders. It's to use that process to demonstrate locked rooms that are impossible without magic, and thereby achieve victory for the witch side and prove that I have fully understood this game. No. There's one more thing.
What?
To settle the score with Erika, since our previous duel ended in an even tie. They are fawning over Battler, but the only reason they're doing that is to dunk on Beato. Which is just gonna piss him off.
Battler.
Oh boy, that came out way squeakier than intended. Oh well.
Even tie?
Burncastle noticeably grimaced. Erika averted her eyes and hung her head timidly. I know what you're thinking. That wasn't a draw. You should have won easily, so it counts as a loss.
Hey, it's not polite to eavesdrop.
Look in the mirror. It's written all over your faces.
No way! Where? Hey, what's going on? If you tell me it's written in ink only morons can't see, then death, super death for you!
Lambda Delta pulled a mirror out of thin air, peered into it, and made a comical fuss. She was apparently playing the fool in her own special way. Erika.
What is it?
That storm of red and blue from you and Lenore in the last game was spectacular.
Thanks.
What happened to Lenore this time? Are you by yourself?
No.
I have been waiting here. Lenore had been just standing around in reserve, hiding her presence in the dark shadows.
Well, when she can't use her red longsword, Lenore is just useless puke spittle. There's no point having her around, so I've dropped her from the action.
All I can do now is keep records of Lady Erika's reasoning. Why won't you fight with her? Why can't you use that red longsword? Erika's reasoning and your longsword. They were strong because they worked together. Lenore didn't answer. She just glanced slightly at Burncastle's expression. However, that glance was the same as a clear answer for Battler now. Battler fully realized the situation. You're the one who told Erika not to use the detective proclamation.
Oh, whatever do you mean?
This fight is between me and Erika. We're going to fight with all we've got. That way, we'll be able to accept it whether we win or lose. There's no need for a puppeteer behind the scenes like you.
Calm now. I'm no puppeteer. I'm just a theater-goer trying to relieve her boredom.
A theater-goer is someone who sits quietly in the stands and watches. That's not what we call someone who jeers at the stage and threatens or manipulates the performers.
Sorry for being an ill-mannered patron. You might not know it, but I've already paid a huge admission fee to watch this play. Sorry, but I intend to enjoy it until I get my money's worth.
If you get in the way of the game's progression, I can use my authority as the game master to boot you out of this game.
If you want to, go ahead. If you chase me out, then I'll head back with my piece, Erika. This game will be cancelled, and you won't be able to prove that you've reached the truth. Theater-goers are observers. A truth with no observers might as well be fantasy. If you want to end Peyoto's game, you need a theater-goer as an impartial witness.
Our truth is between us, and that's all it needs to be. If you're going to interfere any further, I will boot you out by force. Then you can writhe around on boredom for a few centuries until you find another way to kill time.
Then go right ahead. Erika, this game is over. Good work. You were completely useless. You weren't able to overturn the dishonor of your loss, so as promised, I'll throw you into the worst fragment and cast you into the depths of oblivion with the empty popcorn buckets. My master, I promise I will win. I promise I can win. So please, let me fight Balor to the finish. I don't want to lose and get thrown in the depths of oblivion. Well, I'd like to watch her battle until the end, but Balor says he'll toss me out. Well, any ideas, Lambda? Okay. I realize you've been irritated ever since the last game burned, but calm down a bit. And Balor, don't provoke Burn so much. This kid can't control her emotions sometimes. Shut up. Who can't control her emotions?
Burncastle, who, at one point in time, had never shown any expressions at all, was now twisting her face into all kinds of displeased and ugly shapes. When Lambda Delta made fun of that, Burncastle clicked her tongue and looked away. As they say, nothing can stop poison but poison. Apparently, Lambda Delta was the only one who could rein Burncastle in.
Erika, you want to fight Balor and clear a name and get Burn back into a good mood, right? Yes. Balor, you want this final game that'll prove you found the truth. To have a proper, tidy conclusion, right?
Yeah. This is a face-off between me and Erika. I won't let anyone get in my way. And I won't let anyone get in Erika's way either.
Balor. If both of you wish to fight, then that should be respected. Leave Burn to me. I'm the only one in the world who can calm that kid when she gets into a bad mood.
You're the same sort as her, but at least you can be reasoned with.
You shouldn't underestimate me. I just like seeing Burn grimace. That's the only reason I've taken a liking to this game of yours. If you go on thinking I'm easy to handle, you'll get worse than burned. The latter can't use a red longsword because the detective proclamation hasn't been made. If Erika makes that, she'll gain her power right away, right?
Yes. When that time comes, forgive me. Erika.
What?
Make the detective proclamation.
No.
Do you really think you can beat me as I am now, without the detective's proclamation? Detective's authority?
I can win.
Lord Battler. Lady Erika is herself a piece. She cannot disobey her master's orders. All she can do is gather the power permitted to her and fight for survival. And Lanor, your power can't be used at all without the detective proclamation. In order to unsheath the red key, authorization is required. One of the preconditions for applying that authorization is the detective proclamation. Is there any other way to obtain that authorization besides the detective proclamation?
What are you saying? If you're doing this out of pity for me, I don't need your help.
Quiet. You're no challenge on your own and it's boring me stiff. So zip it, you non-detective detective. Yeah, the one word I can't pronounce twice in a row. Thank you, game. That was... There's a lot of mentions of the word detective and I'm not okay with that. Non-detective detective. Blah, blah, blah. Detective. Okay. It's probably 50 at this point. Maybe I'll add a counter in the YouTube video. If I'm not. If I can find the time. The red key has an extremely close relationship with the red truth. If and only if a truth is provided, I am permitted to draw the red key for items that pertain to it. What do you mean by a truth? For example, there are Lady Erika's duct tape seals. Ah, those. Lady Burncastle has already acknowledged that those seals are equivalent in value to the red truth. Therefore, I am authorized to draw the red key for truths pertaining to those seals. Those caused me a lot of trouble last time, so I had all the sticky duct tape removed from the game board this time around. A splendid move. Erika was proud to be able to call herself the detective, wasn't she? Yes. Though her only goal was to irresponsibly reveal mysteries, it was a matter of pride for her. Then she must really be suffering now that she can't make that proclamation. Only she could tell you that. Battler took a deep breath, then hung his head in thought for a time. Erika was his enemy, but she was the player on the human side, and without her, there would be no game. It had been the same way with the old Beato. Battler had one-sidedly viewed Beato as the enemy. However, though Beato had thought of him as the opposing player, she hadn't considered him to be an enemy on a personal level. I will fight my rival ruthlessly in accordance with the rules. However, that doesn't mean I need to hate Furudo Erika herself. I will not misplay Beato's game. Erika, you're free not to make the detective proclamation. So do what you want and fight me with just your human powers.
I've been prepared to do that from the beginning.
However, you have talented people on your side. Delanor, Gertrude, and Cornelia. You aren't alone. You have allies.
Except that they're unreliable, powerless, and useless puke spittle.
Delanor. Just like I was supported by Frigilia and Ronove in the past, Erika needs support as well. I know from repeated experience that playing for the human side is tough. Yes, I will assist her with all the power I possess. For your attention, we are in agreement.
For your attention, know that it is our job. You can't even use the red truth.
Erika, I will give power not to you, but to your allies.
Huh? What do you think you're doing? I'd rather die than receive your pity.
For the trio of Delanor, Gertrude, and Cornelia. Erika, I will allow you to use 3 rooms worth of those duct tape seals. To fully seal one room, multiple seals are needed to cover all the doors and windows. If you had just said 3 seals, then she would only be able to fully seal up one room at best. So, Balor was generous and measured them by room instead of by seal. Lord Battler. As the Game Master, I will also acknowledge that these seals have the same effect as the Red Truth. This way, you'll also be able to wield that red longsword in battles based around those seals. Right?
Yes.
But are you certain? Winning against Erika when she's less than a detective is hardly a victory. If Erika's upping the stakes, then I should have the right to do the same.
Phew, what a man. Aren't you lucky, Erika? Now you can use a bit of red without making the detective proclamation and irritating your master. You'll regret this. These 3 seals will be your death.
Yeah, Kat, that is exactly what Balor is doing, I think. So that's cool. He really is playing it like she would. Sorry, just finishing up my tea. Sounds like fun. Come and kill me. Though it was only for 3 rooms, it was the red truth that Erika had been dying to use. Now she finally had enough leeway to fight as she pleased. She ground her teeth at being pitied by Battler, but her tears were not those of shame. Understood. 3 rooms worth of duct tape seals accepted. Regarding this matter, should we consider them as being accepted retroactively back when Lady Erika received the non-sticky duct tape from Mrs. Kumasawa? Why wasn't that Kumasawa-san? Why was it Mrs.? Anyway, Erika had borrowed duct tape from Kumasawa to make seals with. However, Balor had made it so that those were not sticky. If he made it so that there never was any problem with the stickiness of that duct tape, the transition could be made smoothly. Sure, that's fine. I'll rewrite the tale. The duct tape that Erika received from Kumasawa-san late at night on the first day was sticky enough to work as a seal, but there was only enough left to use on 3 rooms. I'll apply that from here on out. Understood. Lady Erika will also retroactively adjust her movements, starting before the discovery of the first twilight and taking into account that the application of this privilege is now possible. As soon as these changes affect the progression of the game, they will be reported to the Game Master. Why do you do it retroactively even though you know which rooms the crime will occur in? That gives you a pretty big advantage. You won't have to waste tape on other rooms.
It seems you've grown quite arrogant since becoming Game Master. You're having fun, aren't you? Giving out charity to your pathetic opponent.
Quiet. And don't misunderstand. I'm not being arrogant or going easy on her. Erika, use this weapon and fight me with all your strength. And I will crush you with all of mine. So hold your head high as you use those 3. That is all. The second that noise played, I was like, oh, I hope he flips his cape. And yes, Balor made to leave the room with a flick of his cape. As he did, he thought he heard Erika let out a strained voice calling him to a stop. What is it? If you have no business with me, I'm going. Make sure you talk with Eleanor. Don't listen to those obnoxious witches, whatever they tell you. As long as they're on this game board, they'll obey my rules.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll fight with all I've got. I'll come at you with all my strength, so I'll defeat you no matter what, so if you do win against me, please crush me with all your strength. Please don't leave a speck of me behind.
You got it. And don't you go easy on me either. This is the final game. I'm playing to prove to Beato that I've reached the truth. At this point, who wins and who loses has no effect on that. I've accepted you as a worthy adversary, and now I simply want to settle the score. In the game, let us suspect each other over everything as enemies. But as fellow players, let's trust each other. That's how this game is supposed to be played.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Balor departed into the darkness, became a cloud of gold butterflies, and vanished. Erika remained behind, sobbing.
Just kidding.
Oh boy. Alright, I will take a very, very quick break, and I will save, because you redeemed a save, thank you. And then we're gonna see what these witches are up to. Be right back. Alright. I have returned. Hold on, let me just adjust my mic a little bit. There we go. God, Lambda's face is just... Oh boy. Thank you, thank you.
You're easy picking, stupid man. You fell right for it and gave me the tape. You gave the great Burudo Erika duct tape.
You know what, Kat? That's entirely possible. It was hard to imagine that the person who had been sobbing pathetically, and this person now, were the same individual. That's how vile her face contorted to be. The two witches were also cackling with ugly smiles.
I totally feel him. When you become Game Master, it feels like you become God and you get all sure of yourself, you know?
It was the same for you, wasn't it, Lambda? You lost because you made a bonehead mistake involving walking corpses. Bonehead game masters, bonehead blunders, bonehead arrogance, bonehead beatings, bonehead valor, billions of boneheads.
Bonehead beatings, bonehead valor, billions of boneheads. I like the way it rolls off the tongue. Nice one, my master. Bonehead valor, billions of boneheads, bonehead valor, billions of boneheads.
If that bonehead valor honestly thinks that Erika's at a disadvantage, then it was nice knowing him. A detective proclamation isn't what you need to kill an idiot.
Just a corner of tofu for them to hit their head on? Make that soft tofu.
Wasn't that a joke? That it Okay, Erika. Sure. Okay, here's one for the fun fact section. If you are on YouTube watching this right now, I will be explaining to you what Gochu-jang chili paste is. Let me just find my notepad though. I'll write it on my hand. Fuck it. I mean, tofu can be both hard and soft. I just thought that Lambda's joke was about soft tofu specifically. Like, oh, you're so dumb, you can take yourself out with something that's very soft. I mean, maybe I just didn't get the joke. Entirely possible. Add some gochujang chili paste and you've got a snack that'd go great with some wine. The three giggled together. It had all been an act to get the duct tape for the seals from Valor. Even though he had taken pains to ensure that the duct tape that had tormented him so much in the last game was rendered unusable in this one, he had fallen for Erika's act, and she had gotten what she wanted, even if it was only 3 rooms worth. The illusion that Erika was at an overwhelming disadvantage was just an act. A trap to trick Balor and make him hand over the duct tape.
With this, I can kill Balor perfectly. I figured out his mnemonic locked rooms long ago. A perfect locked room? Dumbass. I'll show you a perfect locked room. And I could cry for joy at the fact that you gave me the weapon that will finish you. My master, and Lady Lambda Delta, thank you so much for assisting me with my performance. It was fun. No need to thank me.
Plus, I wasn't acting. Despite getting the feeling that Berncastle had just said something a little curious, Erika was in too high spirits to care. That pudding for brains moron thinking he's done something so noble. I'll make you regret it.
Alright, let's use these seals at our leisure. You were a great help too, Lennon. It seems that Battler trusts you, so he believes every word you say. Don't tell me your conscience is hurting, you little murder doll.
No. Eleanor looked at Erika in a slightly lonely way. Then, after shaking her head slightly, her gaze turned hard, and she looked at the darkness Balor had disappeared into. You knew that this was a no-holds-barred fight. Foolish, Lord Battler. This is, without a doubt, the result of your arrogance. Okay. Mr. Battler, this will prove fatal. So it's just Erika that doesn't use Japanese honorifics. That's interesting. Hang on 1 second, I need to mess with my eye for a second. Not literally, I mean. I need to poke at my eyelid for a bit. Okay. I'm gonna need some water for these two. First of all, congratulations are in order, wouldn't you say, Fur?
Yes, because we have learned that each and every one of the lovers possesses a strong will. This is a victory for love. That we shall celebrate.
Everyone had long since gotten used to these two over-dramatic demons. George spoke quietly with an annoyed expression. We'll only celebrate that after we've passed your trial and someone has been given the miracle of magic.
I agree. We've all passed the first trial. What's next? I won't hold back anymore. I'll do whatever it takes.
Yes, we won't lose.
Neither will we.
Yeah. And of course, the same goes for Balorkin's group. Of course. I doubt anyone here is so naive that they hope to win by having the others relinquish victory.
Right. Anyone weak enough to drop out wouldn't be qualified to be here right now.
Even Beato, who seemed to be the shakiest one of the six, was strongly determined. The two demons nodded, taking note of the six's continued resolve. So, what's the next trial? Don't tell me you still haven't decided. Well, we thought at least some of you would drop out. We didn't think that you all would remain. This is a happy, miraculous miscalculation due to love.
Cram it. So, are we going to play musical chairs or something to make sure someone drops out this time?
Yes, precisely that. We've decided to have this trial eliminate one group no matter what. For this trial, we will borrow from the second twilight of the epitaph. Tear apart the two who are close. I don't understand.
Separ-sama, Proofer-sama, what sort of trial is this?
What sort of trial is this?
Do you mean we're going to kill each other?
That'd settle things quickly. Though it's not exactly civilized.
Love is carnivorous.
Jessica, are you okay? What? just find happiness together, can we? This is what they call a zero-sum game. It's an economic term, but maybe you've heard of it? No. My apologies. In a zero-sum game, all the wins and losses cancel out to zero. In order for someone to win, someone else must be forced to lose. It's the ruthless way of this world. If only everyone could be happy. But I guess there's no way an ideal world like that could exist. She just did a full 180 there. What happened? Is she going to eat con on what? That would be very out of character, to put it mildly. Oh boy. No, there is. That is the Golden Land. The Golden Land? What are you talking about? That's right. If you reach the Golden Land, all love will be satisfied. However, like heaven and hell, that's not a place in this world. That's an offer I would have to refuse. Love has meaning because we find it in this world. I could never support a sad lover's double suicide where we are only united after death. I will see my love through, alive. I won't lose to anyone. George-san. The door to the Golden Land is opened by solving the epitaph's riddle. It is said to be a place where love and lives are all whole and can be revived. We're straying from the point. Tell us about the second trial already. Right. What are you trying to make us do with this tear apart the two or close thing? It is quite simple. The only possible way to tear apart two lovers is by the sad farewell of death. The second trial is to kill one of the six. Of course, any lover with their partner killed is disqualified. In short, one pair of lovers must drop out during this trial. You say kill so simply. What are we supposed to do? You can fight to the death, or you can decide by a lottery of some sort. Like hell we're gonna choose by drawing lots. Let's have a duel, fair and square. Though, if we do that, I imagine that Balor-kun, who's the game master, and Beatrice, who is still the Golden Witch despite having no memory, will have a substantial advantage. Well, I wonder about that. Don't worry. For this trial, we have made everyone's powers completely equal. Even the Game Master, Lord Battler, is taking this trial on an even footing with everyone else. In that case, it's fair. Is it completely and purely even? Yes, perfectly even. In a one-on-one fight, the luck of the moment would determine the outcome. As all is perfectly equal, it'll probably take a while to finish a fight. So perhaps the trick would be to attack in advantageous circumstances. Duels that take time are, of course, wonderful too. Why would anyone leave it up to luck? Of course we want the fight to be in our favor. In that case, a three-way struggle? Wouldn't that mean we'd all be stuck? Beata was the first to notice. If all 6 of them were truly on an even footing, and they wanted to fight so that they could win, they would have to fight as pairs and concentrate their attacks on a single person. However, if they did so, that person's partner would naturally join in to fight back as a pair. In other words, it would never end up as 2 against 1. It would be 2 against 2, and a battle like that could go either way. However, if that were to happen, the third pair watching all this could team up with whichever pair they liked with no risk to themselves, defeating the opposing team with certainty. Sounds troublesome. It means that it isn't to your advantage to move first. If you take the initiative to fight, it's a matter of luck. If you sit and wait for the others to start fighting, it's certain victory. The fight would never begin in circumstances like this. Maybe we could just have everyone fight the person next to them one-on-one. Then, as soon as one fight is settled, the trial will be over. Unless everyone could abandon any naive hopes for a 2-on-1 fight, this trial would never begin and never end. In that case, they could make a gentleman's agreement and have everyone duel at once, which would be no different from drawing lots, but at least it would be fair.
That won't work. If we do that, everyone will just defend instead of fighting proactively. All they need to do is wait for someone to lose before they do.
Shannon's point was a sound one. If both fighters just glared at each other without attacking, then neither would lose. They would only have to wait for someone other than themselves to lose first. This brought them back to the starting point. No one would fight proactively.
In the end, no one will move and nothing will be resolved.
Since we're in this mathematical situation where we all have the same strength, it's almost like a puzzle. True. Dueling would have been an interesting proposition if our strengths were unknown. However, since we've been told that we're perfectly even, a duel would be no different than rock, paper, scissors.
In that case, why not use rock, paper, scissors to decide it? Are you crazy? I'm not gonna do that. Even if someone does lose, there's no way they'd accept their loss.
If they don't accept it, then they will be attacked by the 4 winners. In a world where all are equal, the losers will have no chance of surviving. True. Is rock, paper, scissors actually the most reasonable way to settle this? It is extremely reasonable. However, if you were to ask me whether I'd be reckless enough to entrust my fate to a random number generator, the answer would be no.
Please do consider that problem. This is the second trial we have set for you. Think and fight to the death. Please decide who the sacrifice will be.
True, it isn't unthinkable. The servants are the most suspicious.
It isn't as though we have any physical evidence, so we can't tie them up and throw them in a closet. So, we need to make sure that they are always within sight of those with guns, and that we keep an eye on them all the time.
Aniki, we should also gather the master keys. Only the servants could have created those locked rooms. They must have done something with the chain locks using some tool or setup that only the servants knew about. They have all served us for a long time. I can hardly imagine that they would commit murder.
I hear that Kinzo-san is not long for this world, and the inheritance problem is still very shaky. In addition, there's that story about 10 tons of gold being hidden somewhere. A possible payoff like that might be enough to convince certain people to commit a crime.
I don't want to think about it, but there's also a chance that the old bastard is running some bizarre occult ritual. The servants of the One Wing are his pawns, and they might have been the ones to carry out the murders. How about that, anyway? Have you been able to contact him yet? No. We aren't getting through on the extension line either. The culprits might have broken it. And Father does often leave the receiver off the hook when he's in a bad mood. When I knocked, I only received a grumpy reply. We can't contact him, but that study is well protected. It's probably safer there, so it might be best to have him stay there. Flustered, Kraus tried to explain away Kinzo's silence. Badler, the game master, hadn't made Kinzo's death a major theme for this game, so the conversation didn't go any further. They stopped talking about Kinzo without Rudolph thinking anything was particularly suspicious. Anyway, we can't let the servants out of our sights. I just had a talk with Hideyoshi Nissan about this, and we decided to split everyone into 2 rooms upstairs and hole up in there. Why 2 rooms? Just one would be more secure.
Well, if we tried to stick 12 people in one room, we'd suffocate. Plus, I want to isolate the people we need to keep the closest eye on. There's Genji-san, the head of the servants. There's Gora-san, who's larger than any of us. And though he may be young, Kanon-san is male too.
I think we need to pay those 3 special attention, Aniki. This way, we can isolate that group, and you and I can keep a close eye on them. With 2 guns, the pair of us could cooperate on a moment's notice. If they make even a single suspicious move, boom. Alright, let's do that. But Rudolph, we can't be certain that they are the culprits. Don't be too pushy. You're telling me not to be pushy? We must be getting old.
Right now, Hideyoshi-san is upstairs, dividing everyone into the 2 rooms. The ones being isolated will collect into the cousin's room, and the others will go into the next room over.
Ah, right. Aniki, what about Jessica-chan? She insists on being in the same room as you. Jessica.
We were planning to have 5 people in the cousin's room and 7 in the adjacent room. If Jessica-san wants to go to the cousin's room, it'll be split clean down the middle. If this was a wolves and sheep puzzle, there are currently 3 servant wolves and you 2 sheep in that room. I think adding in Jessica-chan would be a good idea to balance things out.
For a while, Kraus crossed his arms in thought. The cousin's room would surely be more dangerous, so he wanted his daughter to go into the next room over. However, in an emergency situation like this, he also wanted to keep his daughter where he could see her. Let's let her stay with us. We might need her there to make sure we remain good dads and uncles. Yes. I am keeping up a pretense of rationality right now, but I can't guarantee that my sadness at losing my wife won't change to anger. Yeah, it's interesting that now that our narrative shifted, everyone's personalities are... I mean, they're the same people, but we're being shown slightly different sides of them. That's just really cool. Even without any physical evidence, the servants were certainly the most suspicious. During the long haul ahead of these 2 men, their weariness and anger and sadness could make them lose their reason and act out in anger. After thinking deeply, Kraus decided to accept Jessica's request, in part to prevent this from happening.
I think that's a good idea. I'm in favor.
I agree. It's enough that only Rosa and I lose children. Rudolph. That's the wrong voice. Rudolph. That was just me being sad for Rudolph. And yeah, honestly, I mean, they could still be conspiring against each other for the wealth of the family, let's be real. We don't know, they could still be. But maybe, like, the truth is in the middle. Like, they love each other, and they conspire against each other. It can be both. Or, well, maybe love is a big word. They care about each other, though. I think. I hope. In this way, all of the survivors, excepting Kinzo, split into 2 groups and holed up in 2 rooms on the guest house's 2nd floor. One group was in the cousins' room. Kraus, Rudolph, Jessica, Genji, Kanon, Goda. 6 people. One group was in the next room over. Hideyoshi, George, Shannon, Kumasawa, Nancho, Erika. 6 people here too. Perhaps as the result of the killer's doing, the external phone line had been cut off, and they would have to wait for the ferry boat coming the next day before they could contact the police. However, the weather report had said that the sea would be stormy throughout the next day because of the typhoon. When that happens, the ferry boat takes the day off. So it would probably be 2 days before the boat came. In other words, they were going to have to spend a full 2 nights holed up in here. While Erika and the others held their planning meeting in the lounge, food and blankets had been brought in to prepare for the long road ahead. The sudden tragedy had everyone on edge, but it was already well after 2 a.m. If they really suspected the servants, then the observers couldn't afford to fall asleep at the same time. Either Kraus or Rudolph should probably take a nap right away. Not bad. Even without the detective's authority, you've managed to control things very skillfully.
A man who's lost his cool is no different from an agitated dog. If you treat them properly, it's easy to control them.
Maybe I should add another content warning with the way she's been talking about dudes. One of the benefits of the detective's authority was being able to take charge of the situation. This ability was the reason that Erika had been able to order a large number of adults around at will, in spite of both being an uninvited guest and a young girl. However, she didn't have that power this time. So, Erika had taken charge by making good use of her natural conversation skills and techniques for controlling men. The detective's authority is the same as magic. It can't do what you can't do. So, Erika's authority was only recognized because she already had that much talent.
Magic is not something that is given to lazy or powerless humans.
Right. On the contrary, people who can hide their great efforts are the ones we call witches. The absolute nature of the detective's authority could even act as magic. However, it didn't seem as though Erika had done nothing to earn that convenient power. I probably need to accept it. Even when she isn't given any special powers by the witch she serves, she's very competent on her own. And That's a good point, Kat, but maybe that's where she learned it from? Or after? That might be like the instigator, you know? But Erika, why did you split them into 2 rooms? I was thinking you were going to gather everyone into 1 room.
I would have, if I had the detective's authority. This is a move to preserve my right to investigate at will.
Ah, so that's it. I see. Not bad. Since Erika was being protected as a guest, it was hard for her to move about freely. In truth, she wanted to take some time to reinvestigate the crime scenes at her leisure, without being interrupted by anyone. She had already inspected the scenes once as she ran through the mansion, but that probably wasn't perfect. However, they wouldn't have let a guest into the crime scenes, so that had been her only option back then. She wanted some time to herself and freedom to investigate more, in part so that she could check the locked rooms and causes of death more closely.
How is that related to splitting everyone into 2 rooms and having them stay there?
That's where Silver Tongue will come into play. Watch.
Yes, that's the only reason I split them into 2 rooms.
Alright, interesting theory. That Erika's gonna get murdered because she's not the detective anymore. I guess we'll find out. The cousins' room was filled with a quiet tension. This room had 6 people: Kraus, Jessica, and Rudolph. And then the most suspicious ones, the male servants Genji, Kanon, and Goda, who had been forced to hole up in here. Jessica leaned against Kraus's shoulder, wrapped up in a blanket. She was drowsy, but apparently could get to sleep. It was no surprise. In this bizarre situation, it would probably take a lot longer before she could accept her mother's death. Kanon thought that this was the sort of time he should stay by Jessica's side, but that looked like it would be hard to do in front of Rudolph's intimidating glare. Rudolph stayed completely silent, but his inner emotions showed clearly in his eyes. So, without even asking, Genji, Kanon, and Goda all understood that they were under suspicion. Sometimes, Goda would ask if he could help in an attempt to correct this misunderstanding, but that seemed to have the opposite effect. The only good option available to him was to stay quiet so that he didn't aggravate Rudolph, and sit still at the end of the sofa. In the next room over, there were also 6 people: Erika, Hideyoshi, George, Shannon, Nanjo, and Kumasawa. The format of the room, the suffocating atmosphere, were the same as the cousins' room. But even so, it was relatively calm there. George sat holding Shannon, who was hanging her head despondently the whole time. Kumasawa and Nanjo sat nervously as they listened to Hideyoshi explain the situation. We don't know how many enemies there are. However, we've got a gun right here. And of course I've shot one before. I'm not talking about the Hawaii shooting center here. It's been long enough that I can confess, but I once defiantly fired off one of them occupying forces pistols. You see, back then, the black market was controlled by foreign gangsters. He probably wanted to make everyone feel secure by convincing them that he could be relied upon. Hideyoshi went into one of his old stories that everyone had heard many times, and that had gotten more extravagant each time they heard it. It didn't make them any more confident in Hideyoshi's abilities, but it did seem to calm things down a little by bringing in a sense of normality. Hideyoshi's a bad boy, damn. Why has a crime like this happened? I hope the boat can come tomorrow. That seems unlikely. It looks as though we'll be staying here for 2 nights. Now is a good time to get some sleep. I don't have the nerves to sleep soundly in a situation like this.
George-sama.
The pain and anger of losing his mother quietly tormented George. Sleepiness probably wouldn't be coming for him for a while. Erika suddenly clapped her hands as though she had just remembered something, then whispered in Hideyoshi's ear, interrupting the old story, which he had grown very engrossed with.
Sorry, I'm just going to go to the cousin's room for a second. There's one little thing I just need to check on with the servants over there.
Can't you use the phone? You just need to dial the room number.
Oh, have you forgotten? It seems the culprit has broken the telephone lines.
What's this? Are you saying you found some kind of contradiction in their statements? Erika had created a strong impression with her detective-like behavior up to this point, so Hideyoshi immediately assumed that this was something vital to do with the crime.
It'll be easy to check, but it might open up a much larger scene. I'll be quick about it. Please don't let anyone leave this room.
Even if you're only going next door, it's dangerous to go alone. You sure you don't want to take someone with you?
We cannot fully trust the servants or Najo-san. You're in charge of this room, and George-san is needed to support you. We cannot spare anyone. Don't worry, the detective never gets attacked.
Erika had already worked hard to look like a sharp, clear-headed person. Hideyoshi relaxed and agreed, thinking that it was just next door and wouldn't be a problem.
If I'm not back in an hour... No, it's probably better if I don't wander around too much. I'll stay over there until morning. It'll be better if I wait until it gets light before I come back.
Good thinking. Be careful.
I'm just going to the next room over. Take good care of this room. Please don't let anyone go outside. We've already brought everything we might need into this room to ensure there's no reason to leave.
Food, drinks, blankets, medicine, towels, tissue paper, everything. The women also had their cosmetic pouches. They could spend 48 hours without being short of any physical goods. I know. We aren't just here to protect ourselves. We're also on the lookout for the culprit, if he's among us. I understand.
Good. Goodbye, then.
Where are you going, Erika-chan? We promised that no one would go outside. Oh, Erika-chan remembered something important she had to do. She's going next door. Don't worry, she'll be fine. Hideyoshi suspected that Shannon might be one of the culprits, since he also knew that Shannon and George had a special relationship. He apparently thought it would be prudent to mislead George about Erika's actions and motives. Hideyoshi slowly opened the door and checked both ways down the corridor, his gun raised. It's okay. No one's there.
That's far enough. For all we know, Shannon-san might take George-san hostage as soon as you leave the room, right? It's careless even just to show your back to them, as you're doing now. You're right. Then be careful. Tell me all about it later. Sure. Bye then.
Pushing Hideyoshi back inside, Erika closed the door. I almost forget to read that line because I was vibing to the music. She then waited for the sound of the lock on the inside, and her smiling eyes slowly opened wide. Her expression had become ruthless and intelligent. With this, Erika had managed to obtain a period of several hours, during which all of the suspects were sealed up and she alone was free.
Finally, I can investigate to my heart's content. But first, you show me a battler.
Don't use my full name.
Allow me to confirm the location of all characters present. Repetition requested.
Of course. I'm not obliged to respond, remember?
If you don't, I'll just say that someone sneaked out while I wasn't looking, and that this person was responsible for the bizarre crimes that are sure to follow. If you want to show me an impossible murder, you should first confirm their locations.
Sure. Why not? I'll listen at least. Let me hear it.
From now on, let's refer to the room next to the cousin's room as the next room over. Does that work for you?
That's easy to remember. Got it. And?
When I check the characters' locations as I am about to, I am not concerned with whether they are alive or dead. Think of it as the location of their body. And of course, I'm referring to the current point in time. Here we go. The first Twilight victims are located at the places where they were discovered. Natsuhi is in her room. Eva is in the VIP room. Kiryu is in Krause's study. Rosa and Maria are in the parlor, and you are in the guest room. Don't tell me you're already going to decline.
Don't worry. I acknowledge it. First off, it was acknowledged that the victims' locations were the same as the rooms that had been shown by the witch side's illusion.
Good. I'll continue. Hideyoshi, George, Shannon, Kumasawa, and Nanjo are in the next room over.
Acknowledged. The people in the room Erika had just left had been specified. It was the role of the human side to check every one of these seemingly obvious little details.
Good. I'll continue. Everyone else is in the cousin's room.
The word everyone drew a slight reaction from Battler. The intuition he had built up from all of his previous games told him not to answer this one instantly. I decline. Acknowledging that would mean that Kinza's body would also have to be in the cousin's room.
Pardon me. It has already been shown that Kinzo no longer exists, so please remove him from the word everyone.
Why are you using the word everyone for the cousin's room alone? You could just mention the names of Krause and the other 5 individually. So why are you being so vague?
It'd just be too much of a pain to read out all of their names.
Or is there something wrong? Does using the word everyone create a problem with some trick of yours? If Battler had been told to repeat Krause, Rudolph, Jessica, Genji, Goda, and Kano are in the cousin's room, he would probably have responded with the red without thinking too much about it. Yes, normally, Erika would have mentioned the name of each person inside and had him repeat it precisely. Battler hesitated to repeat, feeling some kind of unease because of the use of the word everyone.
Excluding Kinzo and me, there are 17 people on this island. 6 were killed and are lying in the mansion, and 5 are in the next room over. Which means the remaining 6 are in the cousin's room. This would be the normal way of thinking of things. However, it is extremely dangerous to assume that because there are 17 people on the island, if we subtract 6, then 5, then 6 again, that means we're left with 0 humans whose location has not been checked. I'm pretty sure that this sort of trick involving names and numbers of people caused you a lot of trouble with Nanjo's murder in the 3rd game.
Good point. That trick worked because the 18 names given didn't match up with the 18 who actually existed, leaving room to add in an unknown person.
Exactly. And so, I can't feel secure just by checking their locations by name. That's why I use the word everyone. That word could prevent you from using a new trick that I haven't even thought of.
I see. Pretty crafty of you. Battler was planning a new trick like the one used for the murder of Nanjo in the 3rd game, where the names and number of people would be used to create false alibis. Then, even naming off all 17 people and checking their positions left a trace of uncertainty behind. And if he skillfully managed to slip somebody past the names and numbers of people...
For example, let's say that an unknown assassin X is hiding on this island. Let's call him
Puru Pico Man. I see. Even if you list everyone's names and check their locations, this Puru Pico Man guy would fall outside the net.
Precisely. Even hearing there are only 17 people on this island and here are the locations of 17 people is insufficient. There's already a precedent for this. However, the word everyone is just too broad. Can't you word it a little differently?
No. If we run away from the word everyone here, there's a chance that Erika will be able to use that as a basis for making Puru Pico Man the culprit for everything. In my old fights with you, I also nailed several riddles with no basis other than the unknown person X.
The word everyone carries heavy significance. Make sure you think very carefully first.
Erika wore a full but evil smile, confident that she had made a powerful move. Players on the witch side must eradicate all possibilities that would be possible for humans. If I don't crush any chances for this ridiculously named Puru Pico Man right now, he'll be used to explain everything the witch does. That was a move I liked to use in my old games with Beato. Back at the very beginning of the fight, my counterattacks were all based on an unknown 19th person X. Because of that, it had been necessary for Beato to restrict the number of people on the island and eliminate any unknown person hiding somewhere. In that case, this time is the same. So, just like Beato did, I need to get rid of any leeway in which that X can exist. The number of people on the island has already been declared, but since she's suspecting tricks involving the names and number of people, saying the same thing again won't satisfy her. In that case, I have no choice but to respond to her repetition request and use the word everyone. That word has a disturbing ring to it. And though I haven't figured it out yet, it feels like there's some kind of demonic killer move hidden within it. Damn. After insulting Beato so much and saying that the witch side had a huge advantage, I'm feeling this much pressured from just a single repetition request.
Destruction, right?
You mean the chess term?
Yes. It's a technique of putting pressure on an enemy piece, forcing it to move and then
and making them weaken their own position.
I'm threatening you with a broad and powerful piece called Everyone, pressuring you to move. With this, you will be able to perfectly guarantee the alibis for all of the survivors, and it'll probably make it possible for you to trap me later in the later impossible crimes. What are you so afraid of? Shouldn't this be a powerful move for you?
But it's a move that you're pressuring me to take. You're trying to make me weaken my own position in some way.
No matter how good a move seems, it is a bad move when it is what the opponent wants. However, it will be hard to avoid the word everyone here.
The red truth can cut the weak reasoning of the human side apart over and over. In the past, I feared its ruthlessness. However, I quickly learned that it could be used as a basis for a counterattack. The red truth is a secret weapon, a treasured sword. Now I'm painfully aware of how Beato felt. It can kill with ease, but it's not something to be used with abandon. Using it carelessly can corner the witch side instead.
What will you do? You can defer the decision if you want.
No. Okay, I acknowledge it. I acknowledge that everyone else is in the cousin's room.
Good. Thank you very much, Balor-san. What a beautiful, decisive move. Oh, I'm in trouble. If a letter from the witch were to appear in the situation, why, whomever could I suspect?
She said she was in trouble, but her face didn't look troubled at all. On the contrary, she looked as though she had just succeeded in making a very important foundational move. In the witch's game, even a single mistaken move is fatal. In both chess and shogi, you can't take back a move once you've made it. That last exchange had left a bad aftertaste, as though flesh had been torn and bones broken. That should be enough of confirming everyone's position. Shall we continue the game?
Yes, we shall. Blanor?
Yes, Lady Erika.
Let's get started right away. Let's use the privilege our merciful game master has given us.
Yes, understood. Gertrude, Cornelia. We will use the 2 rooms worth of the 3 sets of seals we were given. For your attention.
We hear and obey. Seal the cousin's room and the next room over. This means that everyone other than the victims has been sealed. No matter what happens after this, the humans within the seals won't be a problem.
By the seals on the doors and windows, the complete sealing of both the cousin's room and the next room over has been guaranteed. For just an instant, that red longsword had returned to Delano's hand. She had been given permission to draw it, thanks to the red truth that she had finally gained. When the fight concerned these 2 sealed rooms from now on, Delano would be able to use that merciless blade, the red key. This overwhelming power could slice even the Game Master in half. For a while, Erika and Delano grinned at each other, entranced by the ruthless red light that was burned into their eyes.
Senior Aide, allow me to ask a question.
What is it?
It is my understanding that the players on the human side are to interpret the problems posed by the witch as the work of humans.
You are not mistaken.
Then, Why are Lady Erika and Supervisor Delano fighting to lower the number of humans who can commit crimes?
Cornelia's question was very simple. Those two had made this move boldly and treated it like a powerful one, so it almost made it seem as though this move would greatly damage the witch. However, if you thought about it, Erika was just strangling her own neck.
We still do not know what sort of crime will occur in the future. Would it not be more advantageous to the humans if there are more people whose locations are not specified?
Be advised that now is not yet the time for the lady or the commander to reveal their thoughts.
I apologize for my idle chatter.
Does this mean that the only person available to be a murderer is Erika? Good question. Cornelia looked like she wasn't satisfied. In the previous game, in order to help Kinzo escape from his study, Balor had made desperate efforts to crush his locked room using a variety of methods. As a result, Kinzo had escaped into the darkness of the night, and it had later been possible to treat him like an elusive phantom. In other words, locked rooms were advantageous to witches and disadvantageous to humans. Witches proposed locked rooms, and humans destroyed and denied them. Those were meant to be the standard tactics of this game. And yet, Erika had created locked rooms herself, and sealed a full 11 people in them. In other words, this was the same as abandoning the right to use those 11 people, when explaining all of the later tricks. Balor had also once sought to confirm the locations of certain people, but that had been to check whether certain pieces existed with which he could break locked rooms, a completely different situation. Why had Erika taken these 11 people, who were supposed to be her pieces, and sealed them in a locked room? Cornelia didn't have enough experience out on the field to understand this move, which only looked as though they were trapping themselves.
A disturbing move. What on earth is Erika planning?
It isn't necessarily an attack. It's the same in chess and shogi. Strengthening the guard around your king is a valid strategy.
In other words, the seals around those two rooms aren't an attack, but a defense?
That seems likely. Thanks to that, it's hard to lay a hand on the survivors. It'll be tough to carry out the second Twilight.
I see. The witch side has an advantage when more mysteries are presented.
Yeah. After all, if even one mystery goes unsolved, the witch wins. Each new locked room we present increases our advantage. The mysteries that the witch side sets up are equivalent to attacks. The human side must perfectly intercept all of those. It's almost like a penalty kick face-off where conceding a single goal means defeat. So the witch side wants to increase its number of attacks. The human side wants to lower the number of attacks. When Battler had fought on the human side, he hadn't thought of the survivors holding up in a room as being particularly useful. However, from the witch side's perspective, the strategy was simple but effective. What made Beato incredible was the way she had bluffed and sneered at that as though it was useless. On the inside, she must have been very worried about how to break down all of those barricades in each game. Right now, I'm sure of that.
I see. So, strengthening your guard to make it hard for a crime to occur is one way for the human side to fight.
However, that's a simple move. that great detective Furuto Erika wouldn't have looked so proud of herself after playing a move like that. Would Erika be happy after playing a defensive move? Though this move looks as though she's restraining herself, it's also extremely unlikely that Erika, of all people, played a defensive move. I'm sure that this is an attack, not a move made for defense. Though I don't know what kind of attack it is. Next is our move. What shall we do? For the moment, she has, at least apparently, spent her turn on strengthening her guard to stop the second Twilight, instead of reasoning about the first Twilight. If they push, pull back. If they pull back, push. In that case, it's time for us to attack. But how should we attack? The guest house is well guarded. Yes, it appears as though the entire area of the guest house is now under Erika's control. However, there are certain pieces, like bishops and knights, whose specialty is cutting behind enemy lines. Balor snapped his fingers, and a single gold butterfly appeared from the darkness, then flew up to the chessboard, trailing gold dust behind it. It landed without a sound, then transformed into a black piece representing the witch's darkness. X-ray. That's also a chess term. Yes. It's when a square seems to be under an enemy's control, but you observe that your own pieces do actually exert enough influence, so you attack. It's a high-level technique. Erika, if you really believe that you can defend against my next attack just by sealing up all the survivors, that's a naive idea. Balor raised his new black piece high. His target was a single open space deep behind enemy lines. How will you handle it? This is my response. And that's where I'm gonna call it for the night. Because we have a nice sort of like, not quite cliffhanger, but good enough. And it's getting a little harder to see, so even if I wanted to continue, probably not a good idea. And hopefully this will clear up by next week, otherwise I'm gonna have a problem, but we'll see, well, not the right word to use, but you know. Yes, another cliffhanger. We love those here. Well, I love them. I'm not so sure about all of you, but you know. It's I don't know. It's fun. Plus, honestly, the cliffhangers help me with remembering what happened the week before. Like, if we end on a cliffhanger, then the week after, I'm usually like, ah yes, this happened. So it's, you know, that's a little streamer strat for you right there. Oof. Blech. Yeah, if I end on like a really calm or subtle scene, then it's a little hard to remember where I left off. But you know, overall, it's I can just watch my own videos to catch up. I do that sometimes to keep track of things. It helps. It's weird, but it helps. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me for today. And in general. Yeah, let me think. Yes, gonna be back on Monday as always. We're doing a charity month, so check that out. Come hang out, and I'm gonna be playing ocean-themed games. And basically all the proceeds and whatnot from this month of me streaming are gonna be matched by me and then sent off to charity to clean up the ocean. And then on Wednesday, gonna be back with more Umineko for you. And I'm going to try to have the video up before the weekend, but we'll see how that goes, especially with me not being able to see real good. We'll see. I'll do my best, but not too much of it, so that I don't hurt myself, so don't worry about that. In the meantime, thank you all for watching, for being in the chat, or for lurking, or for watching the VODs or videos. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great night, and a great day, and a great week. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.